Welcome back to Swim Stories Unplugged, where every swimmer has a story worth telling. And today's story is one that spans nearly an entire century. Some people measure life by birthdays, others measure it by the miles they have traveled, the people they have met, and the lessons they've carried along the way. Our guest today has done all three. Paul Kiell has spent decades exploring the powerful connection between movement, the mind, and meaningful living. From swimming as a young boy in the late 1930s to running marathons, returning to competitive master swimming in his 60s, and becoming New Jersey's first male swimmer to compete in the 95 to 99 age group, Paul's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. Beyond the pool, Paul is also an accomplished author whose explore exercise, longevity, psychology, history, and the remarkable people who inspired him along the way. His writing reminds us that while medals and records may fade, the friendship, mentors, and shared experiences stay with us forever. In this conversation, we travel through nearly a century of memories, from swimming in lakes and city bathhouses to racing at world championships to discovering the greatest reward of sport isn't found on the podium. It's found in the people beside you. This is a conversation about perseverance, curiosity, lifelong learning, and the simple joy of never stopping. So settle in and let's dive into Paul's incredible story. Hi, Paul.
Yeah,
Welcome
yeah.
to
Hi, hey, so
welcome to Swim Stories Unplugged. I'm so excited that we are doing this together today.
it's nice to see you when I'm not shivering and wet and and trying to catch my breath. So,
Yes, of course. So we're gonna start with the first time you remember when you were in the water.
well, all I remember there is being in a pool with and my parents holding my one hand, well, each parent holding one hand, and they were very supportive. It seemed that they wanted me to learn how to swim, and I got very good feedback from them. And I would swim mostly in the summertime, where we can go to a big pool, or when we would go to New Hampshire and stay at a place called Jenny's Pond, and I've got an old picture somewhere of me swimming, and it was I would get better, a little better each as I got older, and finally my parents. Uh, this was 1939. They sent me to a summer camp. Uh, it and there was a lake, and I've learned to swim more. Um, the one big lesson I learned was the idea of enduring a hardship and finishing something you set out to do. So there was a big lake there where the camp was. The other end of the lake was a mile away. And I was supposedly the first person to have, here at age 8, to have swum that one end to the other. And I think you made me think about all this, and I think I learned that uh, there's a reward at the end if you're willing to work hard for something. So I pretty much learned how to swim at age 8, almost 9 at camp. It was
Okay.
Lake Glenwild.
Lake Glenwild?
And then I give my parents uh, credit for the positive support until until I swam on a team, and then it became too serious, And my mother was kind of my mother, an educated person, a school teacher, was kind of anti-exercise for me. She had one brother who died young, maybe at age 35, of coronary artery disease. And she attributed it to the fact that he played baseball and he played sports. So after that, I had to exercise and be on a team. I had to use a little subterfuge here and there. For instance, I swam all my years in high school, 4 years, and I also ran cross country my very last semester, and I'd come home sweaty and dirty, and I told my mother I was the manager of the team, and I got by.
You shared, it's like it felt like you went down memory lane right from when you started. So you mentioned you were running. How did running and swimming go hand in hand for you, or did you do one before the other?
Well, I did one before the other, but the cross country coach was always after me to join the team, and that's the team I joined only in my senior year. And he was right; the two worked together. And again, it's a funny story. I came to the park where they ran, and there was a locker room. That was the first day of school that semester, September. And when I came home and my mother learned I was on the cross country team, she forbid me to go. Well, 6 weeks later, I snuck up. The coach was again pushing me to run. And so I came to that locker room, and there my sneakers still were. I didn't have official cross country shoes. I had my sneaker. And I ran in a couple of meets and I placed, and that started the whole thing. Running seriously though came many years later, until relatively recent years.
Okay. So tell me more about how your sports helped you in your life, whether it was running or swimming.
That's a good question. Uh, I like the whole team, the whole idea of being on a team. Later, I would learn that there's a link between exercise and brain power, and all over well-being and mood and stuff. So when and I found myself now in my 30s. We moved to another part, to a mountainous part of the town, and I would we had dogs. I would take them running. I got such pleasure out of seeing them run up the hills, and the pleasure they got out of it. And at that time, this was the aerobic age beginning, and I simply got in touch with the people who were big in running, and the one person was Dr. George Sheehan, a cardiologist who had been a runner in high school and college, and he had a whole philosophy, and so that running or any kind of exercise would enhance your life, particularly your brain power. I did not, around 1970, I did not join swimming again. And then I'll tell the story quick. I was outstanding in high school in competition in swimming. In college, in my first year, again, I did very well. But each year, I did less well. And I finally saw that my swimming interfered with my studies, and my studies interfered with my swimming. So after college, and then the active life was absent in my life until I was about almost 40, and aerobics came into the picture, and jogging was the thing. And one thing led to another. And somehow, even before I started getting serious about running, I told people I want to run the marathon. I thought there was only the Boston Marathon, but they were popping up all over the place. So until injury stopped my running, which was after running marathons for about 20 years, I was seriously injured. I developed clots in my leg, and that could have led to real trouble if not an embolus forming. So I returned to swimming at competitive swimming in my early 60s. And that was perfect because the competition was age related. You ran against kids your age. So I was about 61 when I entered the running, but I think it was the whole thing as an activity and well-being. By then, it was well known that vigorous exercise is good for you.
So you talked about the overall well-being and vigorous exercise, and you have a book about it. Can you tell us a little bit about your book and share with our listeners what that would be?
Well, I wrote some books about the relationship between vigorous exercise, longevity, your heart. Not that I did any research, it's just doing other people's research, and how it affects the mind. In one book, I wrote about, let's see, Meriwether Lewis. Lewis and Clark were the ones who made the 2,000-mile trip to the West Coast to explore the land. Jefferson commissioned him. And Meriwether Lewis, was probably a manic depressive. And his best years were in that 2,000-mile trek, which he and Clark headed and brought back research and presented it to Jefferson. But his whole life fell apart after that, and he was probably a suicide, which could have been the normal course with or without exercise. And he was not exercising. His social life was in shambles. And it was just following a case study how vigorous exercise can help your depression. There have been studies on that. But depression itself is a complicated matter and complicated forms of it. But you do become keener in your intellect, and your mood is helped. Various forms of depression are helped by exercise, and in this case, it was running.
Sure. And when you were in swimming in high school and college, what was what did training look back then versus what it looks right now?
Oh boy. Well, swimming, we practiced uh, in the city, the city bathhouses, and it was, to get a lane, even other people were there, and people wouldn't believe this, but in my high school competition, we practiced naked. If you were swimming at a place where girls and boys swam separately,
Mm-hmm.
you practiced naked, and the meets were you were naked. So girls couldn't see what a great athlete you were uh,
Right.
here in those city pools. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what we expected. Buses didn't take us to practice. We took the bus. I mean, school buses.
Mm-hmm.
It cost 10 cents to go to practice, 5 cents each way. In
Wow.
Newark, I practiced I grew up in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
Uh, and my main, I got big practice in the summer. That summer, I worked at, I purposely went away to a camp in Maine, which had mostly people from Newark, and I was a waiter. And it was so I could swim in the lake. And that made and swim some distance. Practice was difficult during the swimming season,
Mm-hmm.
reasons I just described.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, one summer, my last summer, and I was almost 18. I worked at a hotel down the shore, uh, so that I could swim in the ocean. I swam in the ocean. I swam parallel to the shore, and uh, could get in a whole mile swim if I wanted to, and I could get a whole mile run back. So there was a terrific summer. My last summer before my last semester in high school, and I started college in February of the year.
And what about in college? You swam in college
I,
too,
I
right?
swam in competition in college, and I did a little running in intramurals. And my last year in college, I spent 3.5 years in college. In my last year, I swam in a few track meets, and in one meet I scored a point for the team. But my running was not full blast in college. And I was at a Category 3 school, and I did very well my first year in the competition. In the competition, we had the tri-state, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and what's the other state? Pennsylvania, Ohio. Well, it was 3 states. It was tri-state.
Mm-hmm.
Then it became the Penn Ohio meet years after. But I'd say my studies interfere with my swimming, and vice versa. The swimming interfere with studies, and I wasn't happy with my performance in my last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. So when you were not happy with your performance, how did you move along?
How did I move along? You mean
Yes,
how much worse
like
did I get?
yeah, okay. Like
Well,
when you
well,
say
well. I'm going to change the subject in a little while, but to answer
sure.
your question, um, uh, I took a third in the big championship meet my first year, fourth to second, and then out of the competition the last 2 years. It was not a happy time in my life.
Right. I understand. And when you have something, when you were talking about the book, Exercise and the Mind, did you have um, like did you have an agenda of this is how you're going to write your book, or did
No,
you? Okay.
oh no, no, I had no thoughts of writing anything until the last. Uh, and it's a funny thing. Now we'll get to where we met, and my the coach. And when I say coach, it was somebody who gave time to coaching us,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a big team. And when you compete, it's against kids your age, and it's all recorded very well. How you do in a meet, you did the 1,000-yard swim in X number of time, in what age category you were in, and there I did well, so that. Uh, 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 Getting slower didn't hurt my feelings because I was again competing against kids my age who were also getting slower. So it was a nice experience, but uh, I'd gotten so slow. I had such mixed feelings about becoming the first competitor 95 and older to compete in New Jersey. Um, so I had those mixed feelings, but then again, I was getting I had no competition in anybody over 95. So
Mm-hmm.
what I did made a record, and I hope nobody sees the times I did, but it came off very well. I didn't want my kids to come and see me, but I'm so happy they came, and so there's a if only for the fact that they helped told me, okay, you got to go to this lane, and helping me around and things like that. But it was a nice experience, and meeting you was a nice experience, which gets me to the next subject. The whole business, my whole years of running and swimming, it's the people.
Mm-hmm.
And a book I wrote was about was that title. It is the people, and that was mostly about my running years.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I met Dr. Ernst Jokel, and he was a whole story. Uh, uh, German accent, German Jew. Uh, he had to leave Germany when Hitler came around,
Mm-hmm.
and his wife, who was not Jewish and was a member of the German Olympic team, um, came with him, and she gave up her career. And it's the people that
Mm-hmm.
is the whole thing with
Mm-hmm.
with this whole life that adopted me and that I adopted, of running and swimming and exercising. Aside from the mental benefits, aside from the physical benefits, it's the people. And
Mm-hmm.
I met some of the great, and they were memorable. They were memorable people in and of themselves. And I can tell you any story, um, or any individual that stands out in my mind. Um, but that's what it was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones that did the research on the benefits of physical exercise. I met great people who sadly have all passed. Uh, but I'm in touch with either their spouses or anybody who lived afterwards. But these were memorable people who told me stories of memorable people that I never uh, never even met. Jan Christian Smuts.
Mm-hmm.
He was the South African commissioner of South Africa, who made contributions in the world of psychology. He was a botanist.
Mm-hmm.
He was everything, and he was one of the great men who you never even hear about now for what they did for South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things I've written about. And he was a great exerciser. And if I mention the name John Christian Smuts, who did work in the field of psychology too, uh, uh, I probably will draw a blank, but he's worth reading about.
Uh,
Also, Dr. Smuts. Oh no, I mean, uh, see, this is what happens when you get older. You forget the little things that are, you forget they just don't come to you that quick.
that's okay. Take your
Yeah,
time. I have all the time in the world, and we can always pause and
but
come back to
it
it as
was
well.
I was trying to think of Dr. Ernst Jokel. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, um, Now, one nice little sidelight: his wife was um, on the German gymnastic team,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a picture of her running uh, on the beaches in Holland where they had the Olympics, and that was a picture that was used in Chariots of Fire. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they used that as the inspiration of their picture. I think I may have showed it to you. I mean, can I hold it up, or will you see?
Yes,
Yeah.
I will. I will see.
Now look at see this picture.
Yes, I see it.
Now
It.
that's the one with the men running on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he was a consultant, Dr. Jokel, to the film, uh, um, and just having met him and his family, uh,
Mm-hmm.
that's that's worth the price of admission. That's worth any of the rigors you put your body through.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people I met.
Right. And when you say for the community, when you talk about your people that you met along the way, I'm sure you have met hundreds, probably thousands, and you must have met people around the globe too, right, on your swimming journey?
People that I write about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh sure. In the swimming, I wrote about my college coach, all about him, what kind of person he was. The highlight of him at the age of 80, and he already a widower, uh, he adopted his great granddaughter who had been abandoned. And she, at age 6 or 7, and she was a very bright girl, and she has become a veterinarian.
Mm-hmm.
And that he did that with love, and he was just a hard work, dependable person. I wrote about him, and there's a little incident I spoke about, and even made some observations and wrote about it. I was in the championship. It was world champion um, uh, uh, swimming at Stanford. Uh, uh, you had qualified to be in it uh, by some of the times you've done. It was worldwide, and it was at Stanford. And I entered 2 events, and the thing you want is to get a medal in your event. The event I entered was the half-mile swim.
Okay.
So they give medals to the first eight, and they were from all countries.
Hmm.
I the first eight got the medal, and I I got an eighth place. And
Okay.
my uh, what you do is there's no ceremony. You go over where they give out the medals. And my young friend and I, who was also he's a very good swimmer, had a mock ceremony where he presented me with the medal. As we were doing it in the stands there at Stanford. By the way, they had four 50-meter pools there, uh, and there was somebody on the deck below, and he keeps giving me the upturned thumb, and I waved. I said, "Thank you, thank you." Finally, he comes running up, and he said he was from Slovakia, and he said, "We take picture with you." And he
Oh,
took a nice picture of me and my friend and his friends. They wanted to join us in this joyous event, and it was against a country they were theoretically competing against.
hmm,
And they sent me that picture. They took pictures, and they were so happy with my with my happiness. And
right.
if only this could be, the world could be that way, that we don't have to fight against each other. And I wrote about that in more eloquent words than I'm saying now.
Of
But it
course.
was one of those great life experiences. And the other one was the picture that they took in the stands of all the teams competing. Now let me get that.
Could you get it in the middle?
Can you see
In,
that
not yet. Could you get it in front of your face, please?
in front of my face?
Yeah, it's actually
Oh,
easier.
maybe
Yes,
I'll turn it around. Oh,
around. Yes, that'll be
here's that other
perfect. Yes.
picture, and here's the picture that looks like chariots of fire, and here's the parade of nations
Hmm.
before the Olympics, uh, and there were from all nations, and
Right.
well, you get the idea. And
Yes,
the
yes.
announcer yells out, "When I give the word, I want you to say in your native language, welcome."
Hmm.
And he said, "Okay, say welcome." And everybody yelled welcome, and it was a beautiful cacophony of sound. And it's if only we could learn lessons from that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's in the world of running, in the world of swimming, it was the people you meet.
Yes. And when you have talk about your community, I want to take a moment to ask you about your family, your other half, Benita. How?
They've been very supportive, and Benita even at one time, excuse me, did a little running. I think she entered a couple 5K or 10K races. She she's the one there with everything you need, a little food, a lot of encouragement, somebody on the sideline, and all the kids. We have five kids, four daughters and a son.
Hmm.
They all did marathons. They all did the Boston Marathon. I did one together with our oldest daughter, our oldest child,
Hmm.
and one with a few of them. One other one with the same child. I did the New York City Marathon, and maybe another one. Uh, our son did the Boston Marathon twice. Uh, I'll say with me, but not 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 physically with me, but way
Of
ahead
course,
of me.
I'm sure. And
But I'm glad they learned it, and our daughter Lisa, who you met, has also done volunteer work with the New York City Marathon, besides running the marathon,
Mm-hmm.
the New York City Marathon. So it's a family thing, and I'm glad I had an influence on them, and they did these things.
Yeah.
It's a real benefit, and again, they experience the same benefit. The people that they met, and the whole overall experience.
Yeah, it's like that ripple effect, right? You're passing it down uh, knowingly and sometimes like, very diligently to your children. And you have done some races and with all like, with all the whole family as a team, right? You had mentioned about something, if I remember correctly.
Research? Did
No.
you say? No.
No, not research. You mentioned to me about how you and your family had entered in one of the races together. I forget if it was swimming or running.
Well, Lisa and I did some relays together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and this uh, it was well. Um, it started off with backstroke.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember which one I did, uh, uh, but I was in one of the. It was two. I guess, where's Lisa? I guess it was two women and two men, or I don't know how it broke down, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, 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 Lisa swam backstroke uh, against uh, an older woman who happened to be a champion um, uh, in her age group, and she had many backstroke records. And she had the experience thinking, when they started, this is going to be easy. This is an older woman, maybe 50 years older than her, and she demolished her at least as far as distance. But it was a nice experience,
You're right.
and I did have an experience. Uh, uh, Part of a relay, we had this same woman doing backstroke, and at the time, she must be well in her 70s. And it was at the YMCA Nationals. And we had another woman who was old enough to swim with Gertrude Ederle. Uh, so we took a second place, and we which helped give us a points to win that team. It was all small teams,
Mm-hmm.
but just the experience of swimming against these people. One of them, I'm actually afraid to dive from this. Well, I did it, but I was
Mm-hmm.
cautious about it. And this other
Mm-hmm.
woman who's probably 30 years older than me, she just dived in. Uh, Again, it's the experience. It's the experience of being with these people and part of their team.
Yes,
Uh,
I
now,
think
now, I think you asked me a question which I sidestepped a little bit.
that's okay. I'm enjoying your story. I forgot the question, so it's okay. Uh, uh, here I'm gonna ask you this, right? You have I forgot what I was asking about. I'm sorry, I blanked for a moment there. What was your favorite stroke when you were growing up? Did you train in any?
Yes. Yeah. Uh, I started out with just the crawl, what they call it freestyle now, but it's just the full crawl and learning how to use both arms,
Mm-hmm.
and from year to year I would improve. So Oh, good, good. You reminded me of a story I wanted to tell you. So
Yes.
I entered high school in uh, February, just as I entered college in February of the year. Uh, and I thought I was a pretty good high jumper. That was one thing that I did in grammar school. But I came to practice, and you had to take a bus yourself again. So I came to one practice, and I saw this is not for me. They warmed up at my best height, and I thought I was a pretty good baseball player. So I joined the freshman baseball team, and the coach, who later became the cross country, who was also the cross country coach, the coach never came to practice.
Oh
So
no.
so 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 that was out,
Hmm.
and luckily I would never have pursued it. And then I went in for freshman basketball in the fall, and that didn't work. And I was getting desperate because I wanted to get a varsity letter to put on a sweater,
Hmm.
and I wanted to have a sport. So then I remembered I had done some swimming. So I came to the coach and I said, "Can I join the team?" And they had a very good team. And it never occurred to me to want to be on the team. And he said, "What do you swim?" I said, "I don't know. I can swim this or that." And he had a very good backstroker when they won the city meet the year before. The guy
Hmm.
graduated. He said, "You'll be our backstroker." So I uh, went to the city library and I got a book on how to do backstroke. And that became my stroke, and I did perfected it. I did perfect it, and I did very well in competition. Um, and uh, he told me to be the backstroker, so I did it. And in meets, you could only do two events. So I would swim backstroke, and then I would swim the backstroke part of the relay. And in that relay, it was 40 yards backstroke, 40 yards breaststroke, 40 yards freestyle. In my last year, we won it in the city meet, and we established a record. And the next few years, butterfly came, so they retired that distance, and we made a record that was never, could never be broken. Uh, but my favorite stroke in high school and college,
Hmm.
to answer your original question, was backstroke. And I perfected my, if I can say perfected it, my freestyle when I did master swimming.
So I have a question. You mentioned 40 yards, and now most pools are about 25 yards or 25 meters or 50 meters. Do you know the history about how those 40 yards became 25 and 25 meters that we call today?
Well, I swam mostly in a 20-meter pool, but there were 25-meter pools.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 25-yard pools. Uh,
Okay.
Mostly in the schools we swam against in Jersey City, but there are other smaller pools, 17 and a half yards, even in college. It's just
Mm-hmm.
what they put in immediately. But I guess around when the Olympics um, uh, were restarted, they started, if they were going to put in a new pool and had the money, it was a meter pool, either 25 or 50. It was mostly meter pools. But a few pools, and this is the middle to late 40s, did have meter pools. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think there was a 50-meter pool, but now it's mostly meter pools, whatever the distance is.
Yeah. It is right now it's Olympic size is like, when they call a one lap, it's 50 meters, right?
Yes,
So I
yes,
was
yeah,
trying
yes.
to.
Well, when they put in relatively new pools, like at Rutgers, there's a nice big 50-meter pool, which
Mm-hmm.
they can make it into 2 meter, they can compress it into a 50-meter pool.
Yeah, to 25 meters. Yeah.
But that's
Uh,
if you have a benefactor that'll
right.
do that.
Yeah. I saw that happen in one of the pools in camp when I had visited Toronto last year. There was like a 50-meter pool, and after some time, when the practice was finished, they split it into two 25-meter pools, and it was open for an open lane swimming for the members. So that was the first time I actually saw how they converted the meters pool into the two pools.
But
That's very interesting.
yeah, interestingly, um, the pool you saw us compete in,
Mm-hmm.
and there was another pool on the side which was 25 meters, and this was a new pool. I think it started at about 20. They finished it about 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and again they made it yards. So still probably in the area that I'm living, it's mostly yard pools still,
Yeah.
even though they're relatively new schools, newly built schools.
Yeah. That's interesting. And you were talking when you were telling me about the story about your coaches. It made me wonder about how coaching, when you had your coaches in high school versus your coaches when you joined the masters team. How was that different, and how was that experience
Oh,
look different for you?
well, all the difference in the world. But the coach, even if he knew much about swimming, didn't have a chance to put his skills, if he had them. He just would for instance, decide who would swim what event. So he time you, and whoever were the two fastest would get would be the varsity, and then he'd have others for relays. Uh, but now swimming, and not unlike other sports, but swimming exactitude is important. How technique technique is important. There are variations, but technique and the science of the training. In the old days, if you wanted to swim 200 yards, you trained by swimming 200 yards. Now they'd have you doing 450s, two 100, two one, things like that. It's a lot more scientific. There was no science that I knew of
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, being used in my day.
Right.
I think um, my coach in college, however, he read whatever became the science, uh, and he tried to point out, uh, try to improve my stroke, which is what they do now.
Mm-hmm.
He kept as up to date as possible. Uh, um, and I always ended up halfway between my old stroke and the new stroke, and the other pressures. Uh, but if I could, I think I would have been better off if I could have uh, uh, achieved what he wanted me to do. For what is known, uh, and I write about him in one of my books, he kept up with whatever was the science of the day.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's interesting. Um, I like there are so many sciences where like there are and like so much information today of how to break down the stroke and how to do each technique as I come along. Would you have, like, when you started in your master's journey in swimming, and you started competitive swimming, how, like, what are the kinds of strokes you had and you enjoyed, and what strokes did you learn differently?
Well, it's a good question. Um, in high school, it was strictly backstroke, uh, but freestyle, they needed me for a relay. Um, and in master swimming, uh, uh, I started, I entered, and on my own, I would only do backstroke.
Mm-hmm.
Until one of the coaches at a pool that I would swim in said, "Why don't you learn a little freestyle? This could be boring just doing backstroke." And she helped me a lot with the basics of freestyle. She helped me quite a bit. Every time I see her, I tell her how much
Mm-hmm.
she helped me. But that opened up a new world for me because there's so many distances, and I like the longer distances because then you could use strategy and try to outsmart your opponent in a race
Mm-hmm.
and pace yourself. I got to a point where I could swim each lap, say in a 1,500-meter race in a 25-year pool, I could swim each lap almost to the second, exactly the same.
Wow.
Uh, and that became a nice challenge.
Yeah.
That tapered off as I got older, but at my peak, I could I could really pace myself.
That's really amazing that you'd be able to do that because I mean, I started swimming when like a few years ago, when I would just swim leisurely. I did not know any technique or anything, but when I had to take a sabbatical and then read, when I started joining the masters team, that's when I actually learned the techniques, and my coaches say that I'm a distance swimmer. So, and they tell me, like, these are the techniques you need to
But
maintain your time and distance. And I saw one of the swimmers at one meet. He's a coach in Jersey Aquatics, and Chris, he says that, and watching him, I was like, wow, the way he was swimming, the stroke count was the same, where, like, how he flipped, turned, and where he broke the surface of the water. It was actually a live example that he was setting for the other swimmers and spectators like me, was how to swim that and what it actually looks like, pacing yourself in a way where you can do that. So that was a live learning experience for me.
it's very good. It's very good. You learned all the strokes. Uh, I'm thinking of the time I did talk about the relay I was in earlier, and this
Hmm.
was two older women and two men, and the age. Well, the women were, as I said, 20 years older than us.
Hmm.
But the backstroker who my daughter was against in a race earlier that I mentioned. Uh, so I had to swim something else for a medley relay. So I swim butterfly, and luckily I learned a little bit about it.
Hmm.
And another fellow uh, had to swim breaststroke, and I said to him, uh, just don't get disqualified. Take all the time you want, because uh, there were three teams, and we would score points if we came in last. Didn't make any difference. Uh, so it was such a nice experience that we prevailed, and we scored points. and we won the meet by 1 point. We were all small teams in this,
Mhm.
but we won it. We did it.
Yeah, it's amazing how you still swim when you started your master swimming in your 60s, and at 95 to 99 age group, you're the first man in New Jersey to be swimming. How and breaking records too. Um,
Did you say
what is that?
breaking?
Yeah, and making and
Thanks, but it was we didn't break a record. I didn't break a record. I made a record because that's the first one that did it. But I chuckle a little bit. The part of me wants somebody to come along and um, and break my record
Mhm.
so that nobody knows I was that slow. But then I laugh. That's ridiculous. But I gotta laugh at myself.
Yeah, and you just created history by being the first man for this achievement. So I'm sure there'll be many swimmers behind you who will come along. But it's like you're setting a path for the future generation of swimmers, you know?
You know,
So uh so what do you think about when you are setting these paths for future generation of swimmers and inspiring others?
um, I said that the thought came to me that I want somebody to come fast and break and submerge my time. But uh, no, but I hope that happens. I hope. I've had a few physical problems that slowed me down.
Hmm.
But one of the physical problems is getting old. It's called getting older. Uh,
Yes, of course.
uh,
And
but I hope I've shown people that it can be done, and I think I think you got to forget about how fast you were.
hmm
It's how good you looked, and I think that for the most part, I looked like I knew what I was doing, uh,
hmm
but not that fast.
and that's okay because you're still swimming at the age of 95, and that is
Yeah.
pretty incredible in itself. Um, so what does typical training week look for you today? How many days a week do you swim?
Well, now I do much less as far as total distance for the workout, uh,
Sure.
and I do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Uh,
Okay.
I swim about a half hour, uh, sometimes longer. Uh, it's just that I want to keep the stroke,
Hmm.
keep swimming properly, uh, and staying close to the basics, like being relaxed, uh, keeping my body level, uh, keeping a steady kick, um, look down at the bottom of the pool, and maybe a few others. But it's mostly, we used to say, keep your form.
Hmm.
Now it's keep your technique. And
Yes.
that's my goal. And I hope to swim longer than a half hour, and I hope to swim longer distances, and put in a long straight workout. And the rule will be keep your technique. So I
Hmm.
want to go a little further and a little further, keeping my technique. If I start getting sloppy, it's time to take a break for 30 seconds, maybe a minute,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. And you have had enormous changes throughout the world, right? What lessons in your life have stayed constant in the world of swimming?
What has stayed constant?
What in swimming, what has stayed constant and what has changed over the decade
Well,
of your life in swimming?
well, I think things have changed. For example, the kick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can get by on a two-beat kick, but for the long distances, uh, these swimmers, they're kicking hard.
Mm-hmm.
The distance they swim in a day. I remember preseason, and I had access to a pool where there was only a couple of us. That was only for one preseason and 1 year. And the workout was I would swim 1,000 yards backstroke, and it was I think a 25-meter pool or maybe a 25-yard pool, um, and I would kick with a board. No board. Kick on my back,
Mm-hmm.
500 yards, and use a float and just pull using both arms. And they're doing more of that, just pulling, just kicking. But then it was an advantage, granted to only a few of us, to have that particular pool, which was
Mm-hmm.
in a hotel downtown Newark.
Yeah.
And
I think you want to keep the camera up, right?
Yes, please. Thank you.
You want to keep that up like that.
okay. Oh yeah, good. I can see,
You can see yourself again.
I can see you.
Yeah. Um, One of the things that I was wondering about was how you how many adults think they're too old to start something new. Would you what would you tell them if they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 30s trying to start swimming? What would you tell them?
Trying to start swimming,
Mm-hmm.
learn basics, take lessons, learn basics. It's a swim. It's a sport that demands exactitude, and to understand why you're doing such and such this way and not that way. Why you're looking down at the bottom of the pool. Why you're not lifting your head, and take lessons from a known good coach. Um, very few people pick up swimming naturally.
Mm-hmm.
We were meant to walk and run, but you have to be taught swimming and by a known good coach and watch other swimmers and ask questions. And there's always somebody who's willing to help if you're
Mm-hmm.
on a team. Just pay attention to technique and instruction. And there are a lot of good courses around. There are a lot of good coaches, um, and read a few books too.
What habits have contributed most to your longevity?
Well, partially my father lived to be 88, but I think he denies this, but I think he was a smoker for a while. But
Mm-hmm.
in his last years, he took up walking. He was fanatic about it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I, I don't know. I can't say how that helped him. But for that period of time, 88 wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of other factors. It's not a pure clean story. Uh,
Sure.
uh, 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 I think though uh, I was meant to live longer, heredity wise. on my father's side. One thing, I can't believe this. My mother's brothers, one died at 35, one died at 45, heart disease. She had heart disease and strokes, and her sister too. Um, Even my grandfather on my father's side died of a stroke at age 71, I think. Uh, um, but I don't know how I escaped not the greatest heredity in the world, except that I kept pretty active and didn't smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't and I drank in moderation, the usual.
Mm-hmm.
And finally decided I don't even like it, drinking.
What does the water mean to you?
Um, Boy, now you're going to have to make me think.
What does being in the water mean to you?
It's a wonderful medium for exercising. It's a wonderful challenge for learning, to keep learning.
Mm-hmm.
There's a beauty to it, and you have to work toward that. There's a real beauty.
If your swimming journey had a title, what would it be?
Had a title?
Yes, if your swimming journey had a title, what would it be?
Um, uh, it's to have a sport that you could and should learn to do, and it's a friend of yours for life. I do think swimming um, kept me in good shape. Uh, um, it hurt me in a few ways, but
Mm-hmm.
that's because I overdid it. Uh, but overdoing is sometimes the only way to do it.
Yeah.
To do something, if you like what you're doing and you like the people you meet.
Mm-hmm.
But both running and swimming give you that opportunity to meet great people and learn their lessons too.
Yeah. Um,
Swimming has
so
a real beauty to it, and I think running too.
running and swimming.
Yeah.
So it means that you're both of your worlds of running and swimming have become beautifully aligned in your life in different parts of your life.
Mm.
So is there something that you look forward to accomplishing in the pool sometime in the future?
Looking forward to something in the pool in the future.
Yes,
I think
accomplishing.
it's getting back to a semblance of my finding swimming easy and natural, and I could swim forever if I wanted to, uh, and and uh, and achieve uh, uh, a beauty that I once had for moments and for periods of time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's available.
Mm-hmm. And
And
if you
you've made me think. You've asked me some good questions.
yes, of course. One last question before we close out. What if you could share one message with younger generations of swimmers, what would it be?
Work at it.
Work at it. I love that.
Work at it. and after a while, it'll be very gratifying. And you made me think. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. I could go on and listen to your story but that is for another time. Thank you so much, Paul, for taking the time to meet with me and sharing your time with Swim Stories Unplugged.
Well, thank you for taking this time. It was a mutual. Well, I hate to use a term, but it was a mutual benefit.
Oh, thank you. What a privilege it has been to spend this time with Paul. After nearly a century of life, his message remains beautifully simple. Keep learning, keep moving, and work at it. And treasure the people you meet along the way. Whether you're just learning to swim, chasing a personal best, returning to the pool after years away, or simply looking for inspiration to begin something new, I hope Paul's journey reminds you that it's never too early or too late to discover what you're capable of. If you'd like to explore more of Paul's wisdom, his books are available on Amazon, where he shares even more stories and insights about exercise, longevity, history, and the incredible people who shaped his life. You'll find the links in the description below. Paul, thank you for sharing not only your memories, but your heart, your wisdom, and over 90 years of lessons with all of us. It has truly been an honor. And to everyone listening, thank you for being a part of Swim Stories Unplugged community. If this episode inspired you, please share it with someone who could use it as a reminder that the journey is just as important as the destination. Until next time, keep swimming, keep growing, and remember, every stroke has a story. We'll see you in the next episode.